Hello there. My name's Gav Emmett, and that chap on the other bit, I think it might be up there. Like it's like University Challenge. He's actually sat over on that side of me. But I've been contacted by Martin Irving to ask Neil Hodgson above me from the 70's, 80's, 90's Schoolboy motocross page to ask you, Neil Hodgson, a few questions as a World Superbike champion, which is, I know, generally your only topic of conversation. No, it's actually about one of your other massive passions in life, which is motocross, and the schoolboy system that you came through. And I've got some belting questions. Is that all right for me to put it to you?
I'm so
Whereabouts are you
excited.
now? I have to say, first things first, right, I've got my boring office background. Right, you've got a slightly better background to me. Sun going down. What is that? Costa del Sol, is that? Or is that Maldives?
Cape Town. No, that's the Isle of Man, Douglas Isle of Man behind you.
Actually, it doesn't actually look too bad there, I have to say.
It does. It's a nice day. That's all I'm going to say. This time of year, we'll take it. It's a cracking day. We don't get many.
Grab it with both hands while you can. Right, so I'm going to go through. They are basically, apparently they say, Martin tells me, and thanks for your email, Martin, by the way. It said that Neil was quite, what he said, very well liked, but I'm going to change it to quite well liked and respected in the motocross community. Have they all been drinking? Like the whole community as a whole?
Do you know what? I look back at my schoolboy motocross career, and I know where my level was. And I was old school. I was a schoolboy scrambler. That's what I was. I wasn't a motocrosser. I was fast around muddy fields, slippy fields, or stubble fields. But when I got, at points in my career, when I got on the, let's say, proper motocross tracks doing nationals, I got my arse absolutely kicked. I used to sit down too much, Gav. I literally sat down all the time. But I've said this before.
You spend all your time goon riding.
Goon riding. But the skill I learned from sitting down was being able to read what a motorcycle was doing underneath me. So that stood me in feeling, and it stood me in good stead for road racing. Little did I know at the time, but it was almost like my training really for road racing.
And I've got to ask, actually, before we get into these questions, I've got some goodies coming. Was Mark Hodgson, your dad, was he motocross dad?
Oh my God. Anyone who knows me, anyone I race with.
I mean, I know Mark as well, but I
my dad was the ultimate motocross dad, but I needed a kick up the arse. My dad weirdly enjoyed doing that. And no, but my dad was intense, but it really motivated me. My dad was dead serious. We didn't do it for fun, but I loved it all anyway. So it worked for some kids. It didn't work for others. I was lucky because my dad pushed me the right amount, and I got a nice balance with my mum, who was making bacon butties for everyone. I can imagine baking buns and biscuits. So typical school motocross that you've all experienced.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'm going to put some of these questions to you. All right, so I'm going to actually say who they're from because they've all got different names who they come from. So first up was one from Marcus, and I think it's a good place to start. Why did you want to race motocross, and who got you into it?
My dad got me into it when I was younger. Let me think. I'd be about 7 years old. I've got an older brother, Carl, who also did schoolboy motocross. My dad bought Carl.
Oh no! You see, this is the problem with having your fancy beachfront lifestyle. Is that
sorry, that was my daughter. Sorry. That was Holly FaceTiming me. What was I going to say? So
your brother Carl got a bike first up.
Yeah, he loved it. I hated it. I didn't want to ride. My dad,
really,
Carl was good on the bike. He rode around fields. I was always crying. Didn't want to. I burnt my leg one time on the exhaust. All the sort of things you've all done. And then I went to watch a schoolboy motocross, and that changed everything because I didn't realize you could race because I was quite competitive. So I'm like, oh, bloody hell, that looks like fun. So then I got an interest. So by the age of 9, I started schoolboy motocross.
Right. So Wayne wants to know then, off the back of that, where was your first race and how did you get on?
Well, my first race was a sand race, an oval race at Ainsdale Sands in Southport, 1983. But my first motocross race was a weekend after. the sand race, I just rode around at the back and didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't really like that. It was like going around in circles. It seemed weird. But then I turned up at, I forgot what it was called, Lothersdale, like a Vela Rosendale meeting.
Right. Okay.
We pulled up onto the car park, Gav. I started crying because I bottled it completely. My brother wasn't racing because he didn't want to.
Why?
And when I got there,
why didn't he want to?
My brother didn't fancy racing, so he didn't start till 2 years after I'd been racing.
He weren't bothered about that. You were the one who had a bit of a competitive
until I got there and my arse fell out completely, and I was just like, oh my god. And I remember, do people remember Darren Barton? So Darren Barton was there. He was on a little CR80 with his seat cut out. He got red overalls on and a Belmoto 4, and he destroyed everybody. We went home. I didn't race because obviously I was rubbish. And then so my next race was at the same track. And I got lapped. I was rubbish. I was crap.
Do you remember it all then? Or was it a case of you've talked about it afterwards and that was your first meeting? Or do you remember this was my first go at this?
Yeah, I remember it so well, and I'm sure everybody else can relate to that. Because you look back at your schoolboy motocross career was a massive thing in your life because it's all you did. You're obsessed with it. I was obsessed. I loved it. You went away every weekend with your mum and dad. You played with your mates. Like you arrived there on a Friday night with a caravan, got the BMXs out, and just messed with your mates and just pulling wheelies, all that sort of stuff. Honestly, for me, they were the best years of my life.
Right, sounds superb. Wayne also wants to know, where was your first win?
First win was 1983. I didn't win a race till 1985, so it took me 2 years.
Well, that's
No, but it's hard, isn't it? Schoolboy motocross was hard. But what happened then? Everything sort of clicked that year in 1985. I was on a KX80, and I started to build my confidence in, and I started to understand it a bit more.
So then Pete J wants to know, which was your favourite motocross track and road race circuit? And he also wants to know, what's your favourite motocross bike and superbike to ride?
Right. Favourite motocross track as a kid? God, there were so many great tracks. Curden Park was a fantastic circuit, but I also liked the Redwell at Carnforth Motocross Club. That was fantastic. I loved it up there. So they were two of my favourites. I also like the stubble fields, road racing. Brands Hatch, believe it or not, even though I've been on all the tracks around the world, Brands Hatch is a stunning circuit, full circuit, takes some beating. And best bike, like my best motocross bike, was my KX 100, big wheeled, and I was sponsored by Doug Hacking in Bolton. He gave me bikes, and I thought I was the full factory. I remember turning up with my dad in the van, getting him in the back of the van, and then as we drove home, I sat in the back with my sat on the bike all strapped in.
Super.
Just kept stroking the orange seat. I got honestly. It was factory. It seemed so. It wasn't factory. It was a standard bike with some different decals on it.
But that makes a difference. You got the right
stickers on. You really looked after us.
As soon as you got the right stickers on, that's
and the level I was at, which was a good club rider, it was more about the stickers than having trick pipes. I wouldn't have done any difference.
Obviously, look, you go quicker with the right stickers on. What about your favourite superbike ever to ride?
Best superbike was my 2000 Orange Ducati. That was the one that I battled with Chris Walker to win the British Superbike Championship. That bike was so easy to ride. It just gave you a lot of feedback, a lot of feel, so you could tell where the limit was. Right,
we're getting a little bit of break up there, so I'll just give it a couple of seconds to try and calm itself down. Hey, you said that as your motocross track as a kid. Is the one that you had different then for when you being a grown-up, different motocross?
When I grew up, so many. I lived in Southern California.
I was going to say, because I was thinking, the back of my head, I'm thinking, I know you did a lot over in California, so there must be some absolute belters there.
Yeah,
that you've been out to.
There were so many there. There's so many tracks. I'd go riding 3 or 4 times a week, and I got faster and faster and faster until I ended up on the operating table, which is so motocross. It's so motocross. You're like, I think I've just about figured this out now. And then you sort of wake up there, in an air ambulance going. maybe my ambition outweighed my talent. But still best sport in the world.
Ian M wants to know, in your younger days, who did you look up to in the classes above you?
Oh, that's such a good question. So in 1985, I qualified for the British, for the finals. Remember that? You went through the semi-finals if you was in the region, and then if you did well, you got invited down to the finals. And I went down to Fox Hills and Canada Heights. Now, I rode around muddy fields in Burnley, literally. We didn't have a jump. We had one jump at one of the tracks that was made out of railway sleepers, and it was wood, and it was lethal. I didn't know how to jump a bike. So imagine me, and I'm being serious, I don't know, I was about 12, turning up at Canada Heights, which, Gav, it's just like, well, it's like a motocross of today, just all these huge jumps. Anyway, I remember standing, you went off the start, up and down, round, over this big jump. Well, on the first lap of practice, I approached this jump and genuinely I didn't even know what the bike was going to do because I had no experience. So I just hit it, flipped it. My mum was stood there watching. She just saw me come around like that, landed on the bike, fell off the bike, bruised all my coccyx, was crying again. My head had gone then. Anyway, my memory was watching Paul Malin, as we called him, Malin.
Of course.
Paul Malin and Jamie Dobb. Oh my God. I know Jamie Dobb's done this. I stood there where I crashed. After that, there was like this flat out drop off after it, like a big drop off that I was riding over. Anyway, I was in the 80s. I went to watch the 100s and I watched them two. Jamie was on a Honda, Paul was on a Kawasaki. And I remember standing there with my arms crossed thinking, oh my God, I will never be that fast on a bike. And do you know what? I was so right. It was like, you watch them, Gav, like absolutely in awe of, they were so much better than everybody, but they were like world class for their age. So I've become friends with them both later on, but I'm still a bit of a licker with them. I'm a bit of a fan. I'm always like, in the back of my mind, I was trying to be a bit cool, thinking, bloody Jamie Dobb and Paul Buddy Malin, like legends.
Superb. I love that. Paul B wants to know, who was the biggest nutter on and off the pits, on and off the bike in your motocross and superbike days?
With motocross, I think it was really aggressive. It was hard racing. It was real tough racing. But everyone give as good as they got. There wasn't like a one-off standout rider where you go.
Everybody want right.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. That sounds bad, but you can imagine, Gav, a lot of teenage lads. You just don't know any better, so you just go as hard as you can until you crash or till you hit someone. So I think everyone was really aggressive. Yeah. And with road racing, there was always a few standout riders. Norrie Harger was a bit full on at times. Chris Walker wasn't shy at all, and he would make contact with you on a fast corner. Ruben Zaus, who a Spanish rider who was my teammate in 2003, 2004, he wasn't right. Like, you'd be going around a proper scary corner and you'd feel something on your leg on the outside and it'd be him lent on you and you'd be like, what are you doing? Get off me. Like, if we crash at this speed, we're both going to hospital. But yeah, he wasn't right at all.
What's his name?
Rubens Zaus. It's got an S on the end. That's an in-joke between me and Gav.
What was your favourite schoolboy motocross riding gear that you had and never got to have? That's from Colin G.
Oh, Colin G. That is like such a good question, because when we'd no money. So there was always a few families that I got a bit more money than others. And there were kids that I got all the a Pico gear and all that lot. I always had pretty crap gear, to be honest. But my favourite gear was, I had a Belmoto 4 and I had that. Imagine this now. It seems funny now. I had that for 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously my head was growing, but my mum and dad were like, it'd be all right.
Started off, right? just tighten it.
And I had Niels the Wheels painted on the back of it, because obviously, and I don't know why, I had Don't Panic sewed into my bum. So on my bum patch.
Big fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, clearly.
But I always wanted the fancy kit.
Yeah.
I was good friends with Martin Sandiford and still am. And Martin always had all the trick gear. He had the real cool JT stuff that I was, all the bad to the bone, Rick Johnson stuff. I was so jealous. I was so envious. All that fluorescent pink and all that lot. If only if I could have my time again. And do you know what? Now, now I've not been riding motocross for a bit since I got injured quite bad. But up to that point, I was like spending the money on getting all the gear. I was the original, all the gear, no idea. You know, Mitch Patent, I heard Jamie Dobb talk about him. Like, he was the pro circuit man. Well, I got introduced to him. I went to his place in Southern California, and I went with my team manager, who was, when I rode for American Honda. And I said to Mitch, I want this, I want that. And he went, what about, and basically I wanted all like the trick stuff to make the bike look better. He went, yeah, but what do you want on the engine? Do you want is to do some stuff with your cylinder? And I'm like, no, I don't need anything for the engine. The bike's way better than me. But I said, I want every bling bit you do. So I'm that sort of guy, really.
Yeah. That sounds
Say
about
no
right
more.
to
Say
me.
no more.
That sounds about right to me. Lee E says, did you ever know that most of the lads racing used to fancy your mum? Bless her.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Oh my God.
Did you ever know that?
No, I didn't know. But you don't when you're a kid, do you? I tell you what, well, first of all, my mum would be so happy about that. Unfortunately, she passed away last year of cancer, which obviously is horrendous. But we're fighting on in her spirit. People that knew my mum knows what she was, a happy-go-lucky person. So I'm keeping positive about it. I used to race against a Scottish lad called William Feeney, Harpo. He was so fast. And I was always a little bit scared of him because he was really tall. But his sister was so fit, Gav. I'm not joking. Like, I used to walk around the paddock. I was so shy. Didn't say a word to her. But I was just like, if she looked at me, I'd go bright red. But
brilliant.
Like, when you were a kid back then, it was such a big thing.
Of course.
William Feeney's sister.
I'll just give you a moment.
Yeah, let's give you a moment.
Compose yourself a little bit.
Let's have a bit more vodka. Hang on. It is water, actually.
Tito's. Well, Martin says, what was your favourite 2-day motocross event?
Oh, what a great question. So, Gav, you won't understand, but you do 2-day events a lot of the time. So, Friday and Saturday. But what had happened then on the Saturday night, there'd always be like lots going on. So my favourite was always JR's barn. So basically, this Stubblefield in Burscough area, so on the outskirts of Liverpool, I did a lot of Stubblefield races there with Newton Willows. And that's where I learned the skills of sliding a bike and all that, because it was literally just flat Stubblefields. And like the first laps of practice, there were no ruts or berms. But there were some great tracks there. But JR's, they used to have a barn do on the Saturday night. So literally, it was like a barn disco. And I remember, I think I'd be about 15. Yeah, I was 15, and I was sponsored off the Sandiford family. And I got drunk, because obviously we're all drinking, because why wouldn't you? I don't know. I can't remember who got the drink, and it was just, I was going around minesweeping, so picking up glasses and just necking it. And obviously you've no idea of tolerance. So I ended up spewing so bad. It was such a bad night. It was such a good event, but imagine that spewing for the first time off alcohol and all that lot. So they were the good events. JR's 2-day meeting.
When are you going to stop minesweeping?
Gav, it saves money. It saves,
it's cheap,
people are leaving it. I'm thinking of the environment, in fact.
I'm drinking this climate change, without a doubt. Liam wants to know, what was your best motocross win? Where was your biggest crash? Who was your biggest rival? And who was the dirtiest rider in motocross and on the road? Maybe take them one by one. What was your best win?
My best win, I'd say, I won the Lancashire Youth. Yeah, the Lancashire Youth Grand National. I won that at Curedon Park. That was a big event. That was pretty big. But I'm going to say this. My biggest win was a strange one. I don't even know where the track was. It was one of these weird sort of stubbly fields. And I beat Roy Prescott, the famous Roy Prescott. So I raced against Roy for lots of years. he was just God on a motorcycle, like so talented. And I beat him this one time. I think it was the only time I could say I beat him in races where he crashed, but where I caught and passed him. And I couldn't believe it. I remember going past the checkered flag thinking, I've beaten Roy Prescott. Like, because he lived on a farm and he was good on jumps and all that lot. So that was a big thing for me. I hope you're well, Roy. I don't know if you're on this group. I'm going to say you're not, but if you are, bloody hell, total respect. Go on, what was the next one?
Where was your biggest crash?
Biggest crash? Well, like anyone who raced Schoolboy motocross, they were every bloody week. it was just that era in the 80s where the suspension wasn't good enough for the sort of tracks you're on, and you're over the bars that many times, lying there thinking, this is the one where I'm never going to breathe again, where you've had the wind knocked out of you. I had so many big ones. I'd probably just thinking then, I actually broke my leg at the Elf National in 1989. I was in the seniors. I'd lost all my confidence. I hated the seniors. I was too small. I was riding a Suzuki. We'd had suspension lowered. Anyway, I was battling for last. I was struggling. And I was struggling to qualify. And I went over a massive table, to one of the big tabletops. I didn't know the track that well. And I completely overjumped it because I didn't know what I was doing. And when I landed, the compression broke my tib and fib. But I didn't even fall off the bike. I instantly started crying. There's a theme here. There's a theme. Instantly started crying. Saw my dad. My dad wasn't happy. So I fell off the bike. Then he carried me to the van, and we sat there and we were talking about it. And so he decided, if I put my leg in a bucket of water, that's going to help. Just moving forward, if anyone ever thinks putting your broken leg in a bucket of water is going to help, it doesn't. Just by the way, just so you know. So I sat with my.
It was cold water at least.
Yeah, it's about 3 pieces of ice. Like, it weren't like loads of ice. So I'm sat there thinking, well, I can't stand on it. My dad's going, no, you'll be all right. Just let the swelling go down, and then we'll have a go in the next race. So anyway, I started crying again, and he decided we were going home. So threw the bike in the back of the van. I ended up in the back of the van. And bear in mind, we lived in Burnley. So we drove from Ellsworth to Burnley, which felt like, I don't know, it felt like an eternity. It's probably about 4 hours, maybe. I don't know, maybe longer. And then we went home, and my mum took me to Burnley General. And guess what? I broke my leg. Thanks, Dad. But it makes you are, doesn't it? It's funny. No,
it's character. Funny. It's all character, that is. Who was your biggest rival?
I'd say the biggest rival when I was riding motocross at the best was when I was racing on the hundreds, and I raced against a good friend of mine now, Chris Ward, and I was on Kawasaki and he was Billhead Honda, and it was on. It was like for the Vela Rosendale Championship and for the Newton Willows Championship and for the Northwest Centre Championship. It was like we were neck and neck, and as it all turned out, it was horrendous, really, because we had this incredible rivalry, and I think Chris was just in front of me in all the championships, and unfortunately his dad passed away, and it obviously just destroyed Chris's season, which it bloody would do. And I sort of feel shit about that. Obviously it weren't my fault, but it's like I won these championships, and I shouldn't have, because Chris was a better rider than me, definitely. He was so much smoother, so much more talented. I was ragged as hell, but he was such a rival. I was always nervous when I saw Chris. When you back then, I think because you're young as well, you're always nervous. You'd see your rivals. And
well, you don't have self-confidence, do you?
No, or the life experience of or people. Actually, like now in sports, you've always got. Everyone seems to have so much knowledge. So I help so many people, and you can calm them down and explain things and all that lot.
But you didn't have Google, did you?
No, I just had my dad.
But you couldn't watch a YouTube video or watch a video on Facebook and say, "Oh, right, okay, yeah."
Oh, that's how you deal with pressure. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, no, you just didn't know what to. You just crack your pants, didn't you? That's what I did. That's a technical term.
Liam wanted to know who the dirtiest rider was in motocross and on the road. Did we cover that with the Nutters before?
Yeah, we did. They weren't a real standout one.
Yeah. Right, let's move on. Anthony Shaw says, when did you realise that you wanted to start road racing? Yeah, and how different is road racing in the UK to the USA? how much of a bollocking the riders get for throwing the bike in the gravel, and have you ever considered doing the TT? So when did you realise you wanted to start road racing, first of all?
I didn't really want to start road racing. I broke my leg at Ellsworth when I was 15, and I was done. There'd been too much stress. I'd enjoyed it, but I think because I'd not grown and I couldn't handle a 125, I decided I wanted to stop racing. I was just done with it. And then my dad used to do a little bit of road racing, a bit of club racing, and he taught me into it. He went, "Oh, have a go at road racing. You always good on flat, smooth tracks," which I was, but I'd never really put two and two together. So he said, "Let's just get a little 125 mini stock, like a road bike, and give it a go." God, I'm so glad I did. Obviously, as it all turned out.
Turned out all right, didn't it? Yeah.
I have to work with you, so it's not.
How different is road racing in the UK to the USA? Like, how much of a bollocking do the riders get for throwing the bike in the gravel?
No, there's not that much difference between the BSB Championship's really strong, and the AMA, well, the Moto America Championships, obviously going through a transitional period, but hopefully that'll sort itself out.
It's coming back, isn't it?
You might be surprised when you end up being a factory rider, you don't get bollocked for crashing. But I wasn't a crasher, so I guess if you crash a lot, maybe you get told not to crash. And also with my dad, when before I got sort of snapped up, my dad never bollocked me for crashing because he always knew I was trying. And the last thing you want to do is intentionally crash.
Yeah, that's the thing. I always think it in any sort of form of racing. Actually, crashing, all it suggests to me is that someone's committed. Generally,
yeah.
There's certain people who you do see after a while, and after that's it, they're doing it a lot, and you're sort of thinking, I'm not sure this is the right job for you, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When it's a professional side of things.
Exactly. If you're making the same mistake all the time, then it needs to be addressed, doesn't it? But I wasn't a crasher, so I never got bollocked for it.
Yeah. Have you ever considered doing the Tourist Trophy? You're on the Isle of Man?
Yeah. No, I've not really. When I started road circuit racing, if your career was going well, then it would have been like detriment to your circuit career if you did the TT. So I'd sort of set my targets on being British and World Superbike champion. That was obviously the goal. Definitely, if I'd done the TT, I wouldn't have been able to achieve that. And it didn't really appeal to me. I mean, I love the TT and I respect everybody that does it, but do you
think it's a different discipline, really?
Yeah, I do.
Effectively.
I do. Yeah, I do. Don't get me wrong. You look at Peter Hickman, who's obviously the man now, who's a great circuit rider. John McGuinness, obviously a great circuit racer. But I don't know. It scares me. I don't want to. If I make a mistake, I don't want to end up smashed up. And at the TT, if you make a mistake, or if my fear was always something going wrong with the bike. I felt like I could trust myself, but if something goes wrong with the bike, then you're in a mess, So it didn't really appeal to me.
Aidy Butterworth says, when did you realise flying around a makeshift supercross track made out of an onion field, Bleak Hall Farm, wasn't for you anymore and go road racing?
That's so funny. So Bleak Hall Farm, Gav, that was, I'd say probably 86, 87, Bleak Hall Farm appeared. And it was like not only a stubble field, so like an onion field, we've built a load of jumps. And it was carnage because then it was all my generation with a load of these big jumps. And you didn't have tape on the edge of the track. You had a rope. So when, you get a bit of whiskey throttle and it goes wrong, and then you're off into the rope, put your hand up if you're a 80s schoolboy motocross rider and you've burnt your neck on the rope. Because imagine what it's like, Gav. You go into it and then it doesn't give. And you've got these wooden poles smashed into the ground with rope around it. So it was lethal. It was bloody lethal. I hated Bleak Hall. I was crap round there as well. So
right. So I'm hoping here. I'm just going to try and share my screen really quickly with you. Share screen. There we are. Can you see that?
Yes.
So someone says to me, right, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
So then the question of that, has that stopped sharing now, just to check?
Yeah, that stopped sharing.
I've just got to get the right screen on for us. So the question there was, can you explain this picture? Graham Darby says.
Yes. Well, Graham's a really good friend of mine. Graham's a motocrosser as well, from Burnley. yeah, that's me on a track day in Almeria with focus events. Absolutely smashed. I did track day teaching when I retired from racing. So from 2011 to 2015, I did lots of track days. And that's one of the European ones in Spain. And you'd ride all day and then you'd drink all night. It was superb. And I think that's us leaving the hotel. That's actually on the way out to the restaurant. So you can imagine what we're like when we came back. Yeah, it's messy. I've had some messy nights, but it's so much fun. Do you know what? Actually, the track days remind me a little bit of the Schoolboy motocross because it's just relaxed, fun.
Yeah.
People just having a blast. You have a ride around on your bikes, a few beers.
Having a good time, enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
That lovely sun coming through there. That's
nice.
Nice.
Look at that light.
Sunset.
Right.
It's like you set it up to come through.
Right, what?
Zach Bunnell.
Zach Bunnell. Gav, if you knew Zach Bunnell, he's a wrong un.
Right, well.
He's a wrong un.
So it sounds like it by what we're about to hear from him. So ask Neil about his motocross training with me and how we spent half a day doing ridiculous jumps, not even on the track. Then one night we stayed at Blythe Services and we went into the village for a few pints. Ask him what happened in the service area and why he went climbing through bogs and fences with blue lights behind him. And why he could not get back into the hotel without breaking in.
Right, I'll tell this story really quick. This is, let me think what year it'd be. It'd be like, I don't know what year it was. Maybe 97, 98. I was road racing. It was winter time, the off season. Zach's always been an incredible motocross rider. He got a pair of 500s, so he let me use one of his spare bike. So we did lots of training together. I could never stay with him, obviously. Bloody hell, he could jump a bike. Brave. You've never seen anything like it. Anyway, so we stop in this travel lodge. We go into this village, get absolutely leathered, which for me literally is 3 pints. So I'm leathered. We then come back to the travel lodge, and Zach wants to get something to eat in the service station. So we walk in there, and I don't know what happened next because it's all a blur. I was that leathered. I think there might have been like nicking a few sweets going on, not me, obviously. And so we come outside and the police are there. And next thing I'm running and I've been chased by this police officer and I've done nothing wrong. And he rugby tackles me, but I managed to find myself free. And then I just run and I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'm literally in these bogs, hiding in these bushes in like December. So it's wet through, I'm freezing cold, hiding, and I can hear the police. And then they went, we're gonna let the dogs go. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so done here. Anyway, they were lying because they didn't have any dogs. Yeah. So anyway, I stayed there lying down for about 2 hours, so panicking. Then I snuck back to the travel lodge and couldn't get in because Zach was asleep and he was snoring and I could see him through the window, believe it or not, 'cause we're on the ground floor. And I was banging on the window and he wouldn't wake up at all, honestly. And then the next day we did a motocross event. It was so much fun. So don't hang around. There's a lesson here, Gav. Don't hang around with Zach Bunnell. He's a wrong un.
He sounds like a wrong un, but all of that was allegedly, of course.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
No, I've exaggerated it. Nothing like that happened.
Just qualifying it in case they come around again. Did you ever go bar to bar with Stalker, Chris Walker, on a motocross bike? 2000 was the best ever season in BSB. Legends, Paul Lyons, that was.
Do you know what? The first time I battled with Chris Walker was on a speedway track on motocross bikes in about 1995. So Chris had just started road racing, and it was an end of season bizarre event where they got all these road race guys doing the speedway on motocross bikes, but with a big jump on the straight.
Brilliant.
And me and him were pretty much the quickest at this event. But over the jump, I kept like rolling it, and he would hit this jump flat out and land in the corner, off the scale, brave. But we never raced motocross, but he beat me at this like speedway jump event. We were similar speeds that day, but everything I've heard about Chris, I'd say he was definitely a better motocross rider than me. I'd give him half a go, but I think he'd smoke me.
Right, we've got some quick fire questions. I know this is normally your kind of domain, but I'm going to get you with these now. So you've got 3 seconds to answer each one. So I really want this.
Yeah, snappy.
Yeah. Right, okay. Here we go then. Kawasaki or Honda?
Kawasaki.
Dirt or tarmac?
Dirt.
Arai or Shoei?
Arai.
Cadwell or Laguna? Or Portimao?
Yeah, Portimao.
Indian or Chinese?
Chinese.
Blonde or brunette?
Both. Way, lads. No, blonde.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Ant or deck?
I can't tell the difference between them. Well, I know they look different, but I don't know which one's which.
Fair enough. Ant's on the left, deck's on the right. Gav, Hodgie. Keith or Jules?
Oh, both. I love them both.
Red or white?
Red or white?
Wine, I think it might be.
Oh, definitely red.
Pink or brown?
Both.
I think snooker, that is.
Snooker, yeah.
Porsche or Ferrari?
Porsche.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I'd like to add in Alex or Sam.
Both.
Right, okay. Finally, question, I think this might be from Martin. Can you explain what it feels like to win the World Superbike Championship?
I can explain that really well. And again, people on this group will understand it is no different winning that than me winning the Vale of Rosendale Schoolboy motocross 100cc championship in 1986. No different, because you've worked so hard to achieve something, you achieve it, it feels great. It don't feel any better. And no, I'm not just saying that, it doesn't, because 100% satisfaction, you can't get any more than that. So when I won my motocross championships, they were amazing. And the presentations, because then you're excited, because then your mum and dad took you into town and you bought new clothes to go to the presentations. We all experienced that. It was, yeah, superb. So winning a World Superbike Championship was no different, honestly.
And you still talk about both of them to this day, every day.
I do talk about...
Tell anyone who'll hear, anyone who'll listen.
No, I don't. I talk about motocross. Believe it or not, I talk about motocross.
That's what I'm saying. And you'll still talk about the Vale of Rosendale.
More than road racing. It's my passion, and it's like your first love. That motocross was my first love and always will be, and nothing will come close to it. I wanted to be a professional motocross rider. I just wasn't good enough. It's as simple as that, really. Can't beat that, can you? It's like, yeah, well, I wanted to be. But if you speak to a lot of road race guys, they wanted to be professional motocross riders.
Yeah.
Colin Edwards wanted to be a professional motocross rider. He was a good motocross rider, but we all know how hard motocross is. It's a tough old sport.
Yeah. I mean, how many motocross riders retire old?
Not many, do they?
Right, I believe that's everything. That's all the questions. Thanks, Martin.
Super.
Thanks to everyone who asked those questions. I quite enjoyed that. Little trip down memory lane. Hope you did.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks as well. It's nice to do something totally different, actually. And when I discovered the page, when I'd been tagged in something or somebody I followed had been tagged in it, I was so excited when I found that page, genuinely, because it's nostalgia, and it's like I've said, it's like the best memories of growing up, and it's almost like you're trying to explain it to someone who's not been there, and they'll never understand what it felt like. So yeah, absolute pleasure, and long may this Facebook page continue.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of day.
Thank you, Gav, for doing that.
No problem.
You're getting the hang of it now.
One day.
Well, yeah. Have you ever thought about doing TV work?
Yeah, I'm just shy. That's the problem. So
yeah, I'm not. Yeah.